Welcome to the 8th lecture of this lecture series titled Introduction to Philosophy. This is a lecture in Chapter 2 on Atheistic Philosophy under the first unit titled Classical Indian Epistemology and Metaphysics. In this lecture, we provide an overview of the Cārvāka school of philosophy. Cārvāka Darshana, also called as Lokāyata and Bārahaspatya Darshana, is popularly recognized as a materialistic philosophical system of ancient India. It upholds that A. Perception is the only means of knowledge, consciousness is the product of matter, pleasure, rather sensuous pleasure, is the only goal of life which could be achieved even by immoral means, and there is no God, no other God, and no life after death. These views of the Cārvāka school has been spread by doxographical works, that is, works which describe the point of view of other authors or philosophers. The term Lokāyata is generally derived from Lokeshu Ayatam and is interpreted as spread Ayatam among people, Lokeshu, or prevalent among people. The opponents of the Cārvākas describe Lokāyata as the philosophy of the common people. While doing so, they either reduced Lokāyata to the pleasure-seeking approach of the common people, which is not the essence of the Lokāyata philosophy, or they meant to ridicule Lokāyata by implying that it is the philosophy of the ordinary, that is, unwise people. Madhvacharya, the philosopher saint, said of Cārvāka, the mass of men, in accordance with the sastras of policy and enjoyment, considering wealth and desire the only ends of man and denying the existence of any object belonging to a future world, are found to follow only the doctrine of Cārvāka. Hence, another name for that school is Lokāyata, a name well accordant with the thing signified. Panchanan Tarakratna construes the word Lokāyata to mean philosophy which believed only in the concrete world, Loka, and denied everything else beyond it. Buddha Ghosa, a Buddhist commentator, argued that Ayata was used in the sense of Ayatana, that is, basis. Therefore, for him, Lokāyata meant the basis of the material world. There is another explanation for the term given by Pradeep P. Gokhale. The word Lokāyata can now be derived as Lokena Ayatam, literally restrained by the world, which can be interpreted as limited by the belief that this is the only world, or limited by this worldly approach, or limited by the approach which disregards other worlds. Brahaspati is regarded as the founder of the school of philosophy. Cārvāka school denies all spiritual entities which are not material in nature, such as God, soul, etc. The major texts of the other Indian schools of philosophy are preserved relatively well. Unfortunately, all the original works of Lokāyatikas are lost beyond the prospect of any possible recovery. We are left with mere fragments of Lokāyata, but all these are preserved as writings of its opponents, that is, those who wanted only to refute and ridicule it. Lokāyata thus remains to be reconstructed from essentially hostile references to it. There is also a debate as to whether there were actual texts of Cārvāka school or whether Indian philosophers merely refuted a point of view. Rice David is an example of a scholar denying the existence of the original Lokāyata works, while Tucci, Garbe and Dasgupta viewed otherwise, with Dasgupta citing Sata Shastra, which contained an actual quote from Brihaspati Shastra. Since no works of the Cārvāka school exist, the principal source of the school of thought has been the first chapter of the Sarva Darshana Sangraha, penned by Madhvacharya in the 14th century. In the 20th century, Debiprasad Chattopadhyaya, an advocate of secularism and materialism of the Marxist variety, who was well aware of the rich and complex philosophical heritage of India, was sympathetic to Lokāyata, but was unhappy about the popular image of Lokāyata as described. He attempted to defend Lokāyata by presenting it as a materialist system which accepted experience as well as reasoning, that is, perception and inference, as the two sources of knowledge, and which was against other worldly religions but not against morality. Chattopadhyaya reconstructed this image of Cārvāka's darshana from sources such as Arthashastra of Kautilya and Tattva Sangraha Panjika. In Arthashastra, Kautilya regards Lokāyata as part of reason-oriented inquiry. That is Anvikshiki, a philosophical discipline which investigates the strengths and weaknesses of different sciences by applying reason. Hence, Lokāyata in Kautilya's view must accept reasoning, that is, the application of the hetus or reasons as a means of knowledge. Likewise, Purandara, a Cārvāka thinker who's been quoted in Tattva Sangraha Panjika, claimed that Cārvākas accept a kind of inference as a means to knowledge. According to Chattopadhyaya, this description of Cārvāka Lokāyata Darshana as a materialist school which accepts a kind of inference in addition to perceptions as a means of knowledge is an authentic description of the school. Cārvākas accepted only perception as a means of knowledge and accepted sensualist hedonism is to him a distortion of the Cārvāka Darshana made by the opponents of Cārvāka in order to present it in a weaker form or present a strawman argument. By the way, a strawman argument is an informal fallacy. Informant reduces and exaggerates or distorts the viewpoint of another to make it easier to refute. Lokāyata was regarded as Vaitandika Katha or Vitanda Sastram, that is, a discipline which conducts debates of Vitanda type, that is, captious debaters who took pleasure in refuting others' position without upholding any position as their own. Many progressive-minded scholars of Indian philosophy were influenced by Chattopadhyaya's reconstruction of the Cārvāka Darshana. Chattopadhyaya's estimate of the Cārvāka Darshana was further strengthened by another original scholar, Ramakrishna Bhattacharya. He collected and rearranged the scattered references to Lokāyata, Cārvāka and Indian materialism, tried to restore Lokāyata aphorisms and reinterpreted this literature and strengthened, apart from some points of disagreement, the basic framework of Chattopadhyaya's version. Philosophers, including the modern ones, presented Cārvāka school as a unitary school, but the Cārvāka school contained diverse viewpoints. Pradeep Gokhale portrays in detail the diverse views of Cārvāka. Hence, the views of Cārvāka school presented are more dogmatic than reflecting historical reality. However, for the sake of simplicity and taking into consideration that these lectures are aid for students for the UGC NET exam on philosophy, a simplistic version is presented in these lectures. A more serious student of philosophy may read Chattopadhyaya and Gokhale's book on the topic. To summarize, the central tenets of Cārvāka school run as follows. There is no soul or self apart from body. Consciousness cannot exist independently of body. There is no God, no other world. The doctrine of karma is not acceptable. Inference cannot be established as a means to knowledge in the strict sense. No religious scriptures, that is Vedas or Agamas and so on, are to be accepted as a source of knowledge. Religious obligations, that is Dharma and disembodied liberation moksha, are not acceptable as values. More on this topic in the next lecture. Bye bye and Stay safe.